Baby Audio Transit landed with a bang recently, and it's designed to make transitions between sections of your song easier. Does it deliver on its promise? Let's watch to find out. But first, please like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon below. Plus, you can get awesome plugin deals at Plugin Boutique with my affiliate link. And head over to paleblue.ca for freebies. The first thing to know about Transit is that it's essentially a modular effects chain, where you can stack and move effects around and control the level with the main transition control knob. The transition control knob controls the overall amount of the effect. It can also control the individual parameters of each effect, but more on that later. Basically, you use the transition control knob to build up your rising transition, then pull it back down to kill it. All the way down is no effect, all the way up is 100% wet. Pretty straightforward. Now, if you want to get going quickly, all you need to do is insert Transit on your main bus, select a preset, and raise the control knob to create a transition. There, pretty cool, with no work at all. You can automate this and be done with it. Easy. But how does this really work? Let's break it down. Now, you may notice that when I raise the control knob, a lot of disparate parameters inside each effect are moving. What's happening here? And how can you create your own custom risers? First, I'll clear Transit completely and we'll start from scratch. You can do that by hitting the little eraser icon. You need to hit confirm to finalize it, which is a nice touch. You don't want to accidentally delete your whole chain that you painstakingly created over the last 2 hours. Let's add a reverb. Now when I raise the control knob, the only parameter that's changing is the mix amount of the reverb. That's because this little yellow motion button is on, and now the main transition control knob controls it. If I turn off the motion button, then the reverb is just stuck at 100%. The transition control has nothing to control, so it's just on or off. Let's put the motion back on and see how we can further shape this effect. Now the really cool thing is that you can control the range of the effect with these handles at the end of the green dial. The way it's set now, it'll go from 0 to 100%. But say I want this reverb to blend only to about 50% wet. I'll just move the top handle down to 50, and the signal doesn't completely wash out with reverb. Now I can start adding to this macro. What about if I want the reverb to get longer as it gets closer to the end of the bar? I can activate motion, and here we can see that it's going to increase the length from 25% to 75% as I raise the main macro control. I'm going to set mine to 100% length to get a more dramatic effect. On top of that, if you right-click any of the sliders, it reverses the parameters. For example, I could flip the direction of the tone slider and the reverb will get darker as it gets longer. Check it out. Great, so now you can see how you can tie anything into the macro control. What else can we do with this? How about a classic riser? Transit includes a synth oscillator and a noise generator to add those risers we've been hearing in electronic production music for decades. Let's add an oscillator here. Okay, so this adds a pretty obnoxious tone rising in pitch. Let's lower the gain and move it in front of the reverb so it gets folded into that effect a bit more. Much better. And you can choose between your 4 basic synth waveforms: sine, triangle, sawtooth, and square. Let's try sawtooth. Okay, so you can hear how that would work really well on a high energy mix. I think I'll stick with the triangle for this synthwave mix. It's also got a spread here that could be automated to thicken out the sound a bit more. So we can go ahead and add a delay to this to make the sound more complex. Again, you could have a lot of fun here changing the delay or feedback times and seeing what happens. Experimentation reigns supreme with Transit. A really welcome addition is the OTT or over-the-top module. This is a widely loved and desired effect amongst EDM producers, which is basically a very extreme upwards and downwards compressor, which tends to have a pleasing, crushing effect on tails and instruments. I find it useful to add OTT at the end of Transit signal path to help control the big gain increases you get with some of these effect chains. Side note, I actually would have loved to seen a compressor module or some kind of gain compensation in Transit. Complex effects chains can get very loud and swallow a mix, and apart from OTT, the only real control you have over the gain is via each plugin's gain effect or the utility module. Now you can add a utility module and set its gain to lower as you increase the main macro knob, but this also affects the global gain of your entire mix, so it's a little awkward. The wet-dry slider at the bottom will also negatively affect your main mix gain, so you really need to balance your overall effect levels. Not a deal breaker, but it's probably the biggest downside of using a single effect plugin to do this, instead of building it inside the mix. Another amazing thing you can do is switch the main control to sequencer mode, and you can set Transit to automatically do the transition in time with your DAW, so you can get perfect timing on your riser without having to fiddle with a mouse and human timing. You just click this icon and set how long you want the transition to be. I'll go with 2 bars. And you click this arrow and it'll start on the next upcoming bar. You can automate the button to happen right before the bar, and the rise will happen perfectly every time. There, hands-free transitions that you can change at any time. A funny thing happened while I was testing Transit. I found that because it's such a delight to play with the effects modules and just mix and match and experiment, I found myself using it a lot as a simple multi-effects plugin. I mean, first off, you get a free OTT with this. You could just insert that on drums or synths and juice them up right away. Or take this bass line. I can add an OTT, pump up the lows and mids, add the spread module for some width, and I love how there's a low preserve option here to maintain mono compatibility in your lows. Add some saturation after that. And I can add this pump module, which will duct the audio along with the beat automatically for that instant house-style pumping bass. Voila, easy. And finally, another cool creative feature is the randomize button. That's this little dice up here. Now, normally I don't pay much attention to randomize buttons. There are a few companies that love these, but I tend to ignore them and plug away on my own. But in the crazy world of risers and transitions, it just might work. Now, you may not like the first iteration that it creates, but I find within 1 or 2 clicks I get a new sound that I quite like. At the very least, it's a building block for inspiration. And if you hit the lock icon up here, you can tell Transit to not randomize certain parameters, and you can see which parameters are unlocked. Very cool. I'm very impressed with Baby Audio Transit. This kind of feels like their masterpiece. I had a lot of fun exploring and playing with this effect, and I'm honestly looking forward to spicing up my transitions with Transit. I would say it's really worth it at this sale price, just $59 instead of $99 for the intro sale, which you can get from my QR code or from my links below, especially considering you get so many crucial effects like OTT and pump. And of course, the main attraction is the infinite possibilities with the macro controls. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and use my affiliate links to purchase Transit and other plugins below.